Stephen, what can the players build on from the Morocco match going into the Brazil game, and what needs to be better?
I think we can build on, obviously, after losing the early goal, which was poor on our part. I think the way we reacted to that. And as the game went on, we started to probably play more forward passes, and we got into the final third more. That's what we've got. I think in any game in the World Cup, you're going to need to be good in possession. So that part, the defensive side of it, against Morocco are a brilliant team, and they're going to cause teams problems. But I think on the main, our defensive display was good. And it'll be similar because you're playing against world-class players in Brazil, who some of their players have got similar traits to what Morocco's forward players have got.
Obviously, been a lot of views expressed since that Morocco game. Scotland going for it enough and brave enough. How do you, as a management team, respond to that?
Like we do with every game, you'll look back and there's areas that we think we could have been better. There's areas that we thought, yeah, we coped, but we're at a World Cup finals, and every game you're going to play, you just need to look at a lot of the results throughout the tournament so far. There's no easy games. We managed to get a good result against Haiti. The Morocco game, the early goal definitely sets us back. But I think going into the last game, we'll go to do what we need to do to get through the group. That's ultimately what we're here to do. But we need to make sure we're solid as well, because again, as you've seen in some of the results, teams are ruthless when they get the opportunity.
That said, then, Steven, based on what you said then, do you as the coaching staff feel that the ends justify the means? So if it's a more pragmatic, kind of less expansive approach through certain group games and you get through, so be it?
I sat here last week and said, if we qualify for the group, it's the first squad to do it. I think this squad deserves to do it. I think we've got the players to do it. And I think we've got the manager to do it. We need to just make sure the other night's game, the goal coming so quick, we need to make sure for the first whistle we're on it. And like any game, the magnitude of these games is definitely big, as big as for some of the players that any of the games they played in. But you know you can be punished at any one moment in the game, so you've got to be switched on. And then in the final third, I think we've got to. I think the manager spoke after the game saying that we had a few opportunities, but probably not as many as we like. Not as many as thinking back to Greece away, where we have really good opportunities. That's the bit that hopefully we can have more of them.
Finally, for me, what's the squad update, Stephen, in terms of McKenna, Hickey and Ferguson? What's the latest there?
So McKenna's fine. Lewis Ferguson, I think, ran the most in the tournament, so he's just taking a rest. He'll be all right. Aaron's still, he's improving every day. He's the judgment for him over the next couple of days will happen in tonight's meetings on what the squad looks like for tomorrow. He's back. He'll be back training tomorrow. Yeah, it was just a rest day for him.
Brazil are Brazil, right? We know what they're capable of. Is this a game for the bigger players, the talisman, to come to the fore?
I think it is for any player. Like any player that starts a game has to see the opportunity within that game. We know it's going to be really tough at times because you're playing against match winners who can do things on their own on the pitch and they'll score goals, as we've seen for the previous games. But then when we've got possession, we've got to cause them problems, and I think we can. I think we've got the players that can. But I'm sitting here not really thinking we've got one or two who are going to, in every different way, maybe defenders don't get as much credit as the forwards, but Jack Henry's, Angus Gunn have had brilliant tournaments. But I'm pretty sure there's a few in the squad that were sitting there going, I like getting the headlines and I want to get them against Brazil.
I'm thinking about some of the question marks that have been around Scott McTominay, and I wonder how some of that, some of it criticism, how that's been received and how fair you think that's been?
I've not noticed too much of it, if I'm honest. But I've said before, like, Scott is the ultimate professional. He does not leave any stone unturned. He prepares unbelievably, and he's probably one who demands the most of himself. So I'm sure in every game he wants to be coming off, being the main man. But in certain games, it might be an overhead kick 5 minutes into a game, but in other games it might be a bit of defensive work that he's doing. So I don't think we have the squad where we're saying we've just got guys who just attack, or we need everybody to do every part of it. And I think we've had all our success from everybody doing defence and attack. I think Scotty's he's a leader within the group, and he is somebody who will demand from everybody. But we all know what we need to do in the Brazil game to get what we want.
Stephen, it must be difficult for you guys as coaches to know in mindless these things, twist, caution, tag. There's no doubt we should and sat and find out that we're much better when we're playing forward, aren't we? How difficult is it to know where the handbrake is?
Yeah, I think that part of it is the way I see it is in possession and out of possession. Because yes, in possession, I said it before, we are as good as a lot of teams if we play forward and we get bodies forward. But that doesn't mean we just go gung-ho for minute one, because if you look at Brazil in the last game, before half-time they're 3-0 up, and the game's beyond Haiti. So there has to be a game plan, but that doesn't mean we sit in our own 18-yard box for 90 minutes, or it doesn't mean that we full-on press them for minute one, because taking into consideration the conditions, the opposition, it's impossible to do. So it is at moments in the game where we feel as if we're dominating, we need to take risks and be brave, but there is going to be other moments we're going to need to sit in our shape and wait.
Steve, I'm just wondering, in terms of the kind of shots on target, I think it's 2 in 2 games now. Is that a concern for you? Are you talking about that? I mean, there's loads of endeavour against Morocco. You enforce a lot of pressure on them in the second half. It was a really good performance. But is that a discussion that you're having, that you need to get more on target, because it's not been typical of this team in this tournament, or the last actually?
Yeah, but Bolivia was good. Denmark was good. So it's not as if we don't have shots on target. I think in the final third we definitely either need to decide we're going to have a shot, or we're going to have a final action that makes the team defend. I think so far we've probably got into that area and then maybe lost possession. It's been out for a goal kick, and that's just one decision-making part of the final third, which can change that stat. But I think in a lot of other attacking stats, we are getting into the final third. It's just that quality at the end point, and everybody's sitting the same thinking we do well at the end of the Morocco game, get the final third, but did we really test the goalie? Probably not.
Has there ever been any discussion about McTominay playing centre forward, given his physicality, his goal threat, his energy?
I think if he played McTominay centre forward, he'd get slaughtered on behalf of the country, if I'm honest. When we've got 5 forwards in the squad, if I'm honest, I don't think Scotty playing as a striker, if he's ever done it with Napoli, but I do think he's a real threat. And again, as the game went later on in the Morocco game, you could see him picking the spaces up behind midfield, and when he's doing that, he's virtually unplayable at times.
Stephen, you mentioned Lewis Ferguson there. Can I ask you a couple of questions about him specifically? Just, he quietly gets on with his business, doesn't he? He's actually received a lot of plaudits for his displays out here, but just give us your thoughts on him, if you don't mind. Yeah, similar. I think he's low maintenance from a coaching staff point of view. He's got some real old-fashioned traits, I think, that you've probably seen in his father and his uncle. And he's and I think if you've seen the documentary, he leads by example, the way he performs, the way he trains, the way he does. And probably a part that isn't mentioned is not his intelligence. His intelligence of recognising where danger might come from and him plugging a gap for somebody who's maybe out of position. I think his move to Italy was probably the start of that journey. He becomes the captain of Bologna, immerses himself in the culture, his family do. So
Fergie's vital to this squad, I would say. And he probably is getting a bit more recognition now from the squad, from the documentary, and you guys as well. So, he's definitely somebody who's leads by example now, but will be a real leader in the coming years.
How he is on the pitch, is he the same off it as well? What's he like around the camp?
Yeah, he is. He's pretty quiet. He's happy to be involved in any conversation and that, but he's pretty laid back. And I think he's just enjoying life, his football, and what's there not to like.
Stephen, obviously everyone within the camp is thinking about a positive result, try and get the win, try and get a draw, but at what point do you guys, during the match, have to start thinking about goal difference if it is going that way?
Going into the game, you'll think of everything. I think that obviously the next couple of days there's 8-9 games that are going to happen before ours, so that will give you a better picture of where everything stands. But it's far too high risk to be going into a game thinking about that's going to be out of your hands. That's effectively your backup plan if things don't go well. But for us, the aim's definitely going to be going into the game to get something from it. If you think back through the years, we've had some pretty big results. That against level of quality that we're going to come up against in Brazil, but we need to perform, we need to be in and out of possession, we need to be good.
Stephen Hyatt, in terms of the way the games are being refereed, do you see a difference? It seems to be the referee on the last game seemed to be quite lenient. VAR is not being kind of used as a crutch in this tournament.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think if you look at a lot of the contacts that are made, they're less likely to be given, and that's the ones that a player's maybe just gliding past and it doesn't take much sort of thing to go down. I think for the last 4 or 5 years that would have been given as a foul. Definitely in this tournament you're not. There's a lot of the transition moments happening because of it. Maybe that one that comes to mind is Ryan Christie in the first half the other night, where if they go and score maybe it gets looked at, but we definitely feel as if they are being refereed differently. But again as well, Mbappe's one in the box, John's one in the box, Scott's one in the box. It's not what I think everybody expected.